Hey, fourth graders, welcome to day 2 of our economics unit. So we started off our first day with thinking about wants and needs, how we know when things are things that we actually need and when something is just a want. And you had a challenge from Governor Cooper to narrow down to 8 items. If you were going to another planet, how would you prepare for what you absolutely have to have? And it probably was kind of a challenge. So today we're going to jump into looking at some other vocabulary words about economics. So here's a couple that probably look familiar. You have learned in past years about goods and services. These can be wants and needs, but let's think about what the difference is. Goods are objects that satisfy people's wants and needs, and some examples are food, toy, clothes. Services are actions that satisfy people's wants and needs. So for instance, if I went to visit a hairstylist, or if I have a teacher, or a post office worker, all of those people are doing things that provide for my wants and needs, but instead of providing me with an actual thing like a good, they're providing me with a service, like my haircut, or being able to have my children learn in school, or receiving mail. So today we're going to jump into some more important vocabulary that we're going to be thinking about and using in this unit. Some of these vocabulary words might be familiar, but some of them might be brand new. So let's jump into it. So the first 2 words that we want to think about are producers and consumers. We know that the majority of people are both producers and consumers. So we're going to watch this short clip that tells us what are these 2 things, how are they different, and what are some examples.
Let's explore a little economics. Today we're going to talk about consumers and producers. Before we start, you may want to get a piece of construction paper, a pair of scissors, some markers or crayons, and a book that you're reading. The people you see here are producers. Producers are people who make or grow goods and provide services. Sometimes they are called workers and they help us do things. For example, a florist is a producer who makes pretty bouquets. A baker is a producer who cooks up yummy cakes, and a painter is a producer who creates artwork for us to admire. Can you name these producers? Doctors, hairstylists, landscapers, and mechanics are producers. When you draw a picture or when you make cookies, you are a producer. People are consumers too. The people you see here are drinking a smoothie, shopping for groceries, and playing in a sandbox. Consumers are people who buy or use goods and services to satisfy their wants. When you eat your dinner, you will be a consumer. You'll be hungry, and eating a meal will make you feel full. You'll be a consumer of food. You are also a consumer when you go to school. You are learning. You are consuming knowledge. Can you name these consumers? When people buy things, use skateboards, or watch movies, they are consumers. Now it's time for you to be a producer. Use the scissors to cut a rectangle like this one from the construction paper. Use the markers to decorate the rectangle like a bookmark, maybe like this. You can pause this video while you make your bookmark, or keep watching if you'd like to think about it a little. Congratulations, you are a producer. You produced a bookmark. Now it's time for you to be a consumer. Open your book and use the bookmark to save your spot. You are using a good, a bookmark. Congratulations, you are a consumer. People are consumers and producers. Now it's time to learn a little song about consumers and producers. Let's sing our song. We'll show you the words so you can sing along. Just follow the bouncing ball.
The farmers who grow our food, grow our food, grow our food. The farmers who grow our food, they are producers. The people who gobble it up, gobble it up, gobble it up. The people who gobble it up, they are consumers. When I make a new bookmark, a new bookmark, a new bookmark. When I make a new bookmark, I am a producer. When I use my cool bookmark, my cool bookmark, my cool bookmark. When I use my cool bookmark,
So we know that a consumer is a person who is satisfying their wants or even their needs by using goods and services. So if you go to the store to buy things, you are a consumer. And we know that producers are the people and businesses that make these goods and services. So they're using the resources that they have to produce something that is either a good or a service that people will buy. So here's some examples: a baker, a chef, a writer. All three of those are examples of producers. And we know that for most people in their life, they are consumers while also being producers. So now we're going to think of something that can affect the way that people produce things, called supply and demand. So when someone decides to make something, a good or a service, or when a business goes to sell a good or a service, they have to think about this concept of supply and demand to decide if what they're going to make or the service they're going to provide is something that people are going to buy. So let's take a look at this Brain Pop video that's going to show us a little bit about this. If you play video games, you may be able to relate some to this concept of supply and demand.
Cool, Guerrilla Battle 3. Dear Tim and Moby, what is supply and demand? Does it affect me? From Kitty. You bet it affects you. The laws of supply and demand affect how much we pay for goods and services. Goods are material things like books, tennis rackets, bananas, cars, or even houses. Services are things that you need or want done, like car washing, tennis lessons, or house cleaning. No, being someone's friend isn't usually considered a service. Anyway, the price that you, the consumer, pay for a good or a service is determined by two things. First, there's supply. Basically, that's the amount there is of a good or service. On the flip side, there's demand. How much people want a product or service. Lots of things affect demand. Need for a product, quality of a product, even accessibility to the product. Well, take this video game. Factories aren't going to produce endless copies of games they can't sell. They'll only produce as many as the company thinks they can sell at a particular price. Let's say a producer decides he can sell his video game for $50 instead of $40. Well, he's going to start producing a whole lot more. Companies will generally produce more of a product if they think they can sell a lot of it at a higher price. That's the quantity supplied, how much of anything producers will sell at a particular price. But someone has to buy all those games that the companies are making, and people are generally going to buy more of something if it's cheap. When a product gets more expensive, the quantity demanded often decreases. In general, producers' desire to make money pushes prices up, and consumers' desire to save money pushes prices down. Actually, for any product on the market, there is a price where the quantity supplied is equal to the quantity demanded. That price is where the supply and demand curves intersect. When we're at this equilibrium point, all the video games produced get sold. Both the video game company and the consumers are happy. Now, say the video game wins an award and everyone wants to buy it. Two things happen. The demand becomes greater than the supply, and people are willing to pay a higher price for the same product. Since producers can sell more at a higher price, they'll usually increase the quantity supplied to reach the new equilibrium point. When the supply and demand balance out, we say that the market has cleared. Speaking of which, I got $19.99 burning a hole in my pocket. Well, now I know why it was marked down.
So if you've ever been to the store before and there's like this awesome new toy that you want, sometimes you'll go and you'll find out that it's gone. Everybody has gone to the store and bought it, and the store no longer has any available. That means that their supply has run out. The supply is the amount of the product that the store is producing and that we eventually find in the stores. So when something's really popular, like a video game or a toy or even certain types of food, if lots of people buy it, the store actually can run out of their supply. The supply is related to how much demand there is for it. So if there's a high demand for a certain video game or a certain toy or a certain food, then businesses are going to try to work to keep up their supply so that they'll be able to keep selling the product. So sometimes when you're in the store, if you notice that something is totally sold out, that means it might have a really high demand. And if you see something that's all on sale, that probably means that the demand was very low and the business is having a really hard time selling that product. So supply and demand has a large impact on what businesses decide to make, how much they decide to charge for it, and if they're going to keep restocking it. So if the supply is high, they're going to try to keep the price high. They're going to try to keep it in stock in the stores. When the demand is low, a business is probably going to decide to stop making that product, or they're going to have to put it on sale to get the product to get sold. So when the price of something, it will go up if the demand goes up. When everybody wants to buy a certain video game or a certain toy or a certain food, businesses are going to try to charge more for that item. The price of something is going to go down if the demand goes down. So if there's a toy or a video game or anything that nobody really wants, businesses will have to put that on sale to be able to sell the items. Sometimes we have something that's called scarcity. And this has been a really big issue for us this past year with COVID-19, is you'll sometimes go into the store and notice a whole shelf that is out of items. So these are actually some examples from this past year of tons of toilet paper being out of stock or tons of cleaning products being out of stock. So let's take a second and watch this video about scarcity.
Hello, learners. Today we are going to learn all about scarcity. Our learning target is, I can identify and describe scarcity. What is scarcity? Scarcity is when there aren't enough goods to meet people's wants. Scarcity comes from the word scarce. Something is scarce when there isn't a lot of it or it isn't always available. Let's look at an example of scarcity. Meet Sonia. Sonia has a lemonade stand with a lot of customers. Because her lemonade is so popular, the demand or want for her lemonade is high. Oh no, Sonia has another customer, but she has no more lemonade to sell. More people wanted the lemonade than she had. This is scarcity. Let's review. When there aren't enough goods to meet people's wants, that is called scarcity. Let's take a look back at our learning target and check our success criteria. I can identify and describe scarcity. Let's check to see if we understood what we've learned. I am successful when I can pick out and tell about when more people want a good than what is available. Were you successful? Great job! Thanks for watching!
So you may have seen examples this year, or your parents or families may have talked about examples where they went to the store to buy something and there was nothing. I remember last year, there were probably 2 months where every week when I went to the store, there was no toilet paper, no paper towels, no cleaning products. And so that was a really good example of scarcity. All these people went to the store and they bought tons of toilet paper and they bought tons of paper towels and they bought tons of cleaning products. And then for months and months, the businesses didn't have any more. They had to go back and produce more to be able to restock.
Hello, learners.
So today, we're going to reflect on Flipgrid. I want you to think of a time where you or someone you know has been affected by scarcity. You might think about some times like this. Have you ever experienced the day when a cool new video game or other type of toy comes into stores and all of it sells out? Have you ever been to the store the day before a big snowstorm or hurricane? Maybe you remember your parents or families talking about last March when the COVID-19 pandemic was starting. So you're going to take 1 minute or less, and on Flipgrid, you're going to answer the following questions. What items or item were you or someone you know looking for? What was the situation that caused the scarcity? Was it a storm? Was it something like COVID-19? Was it that everybody wanted to buy the coolest new game? How did it make the person looking for that item feel when they couldn't find it? And finally, what was their solution if they were able to solve the problem? Sometimes when scarcity happens, we actually are not able to solve the problem. But was the person in your story able to solve it? So take a second on Flipgrid and respond to that today, and then we'll look forward to seeing you back for the next lesson.